I think that, you know, when you see a pregnant woman, the best thing to say to her is, you look beautiful. I mean, that's all you need to say. And that will really perk up someone's day. It's just, there's no need to comment. I don't know. It's the other weird thing about being pregnant is that people feel like it's sort of an open forum to criticize someone's state of being, you know, how their body looks, how their face looks, whatever. And also to touch them, you know, I mean, you wouldn't necessarily, like, strangers don't come up to you and, you know, when you're pregnant, it's like, it happens all the time. People comment and people feel free to touch you. Anyway, it's just a weird thing, and I think most pregnant women just don't appreciate it. So, anyway. All right, so one question I had was, went like this. My friend and I are pregnant at the same time, and she emailed me a list of all the gear she needed to get for her child's birth, and it ended up being a list of 8 pages long. Do I really need all this stuff? So clearly it was like, you know, you've got 2 friends comparing notes, they're both pregnant, there's a little bit of like, you know, did you do this, did you do this, comparing notes, as I said. The issue of gear, I mean, this comes up all the time with pregnant women and their partners, whatever. It's like, how much stuff do we really need? And I feel like these, you know, magazines and websites that a lot of people go to when they're pregnant, which can be very helpful resources, they also impose this neuroses upon people that make them feel like they've got to have all this stuff or they will not be an equipped parent, equipped in every sense of the word, right? But you have to remember that their function is to sell things. A magazine doesn't just exist to provide you with information, nor does the website. I mean, that's what's fueling the whole thing if you look at it in a commercial sense. So, of course, their motive is going to be not just to show you, well, you know, you can pick from all these different types of strollers, but to just make you feel like you will be a failure as a parent if you don't own the best, the greatest, the most state-of-the-art item and accessory for your child. And so when you're pregnant, it's just helpful to like take a step back and think, what do I really need and what does my baby really need in the first few months? And the other thing is that we live in an urban environment. If you needed to get a stroller today, you could go to any number of stores 7 days a week. Some of them are probably 24 hours and get whatever you need. Do you know what I mean? It's not like before you have your baby, you must be equipped with every single thing. Again, going back to like, what does the baby need? And what do you feel like you will need? If you feel like you absolutely want to have your baby sleeping beside you and so forth, that's great. The less gear that you're going to need. And then one day you wake up and you're like, you know, I might like a little basket to put my child in. Then, you know, you can address that then. If you outfitted yourself with an entire equipped nursery and so forth, that's, you might be getting stuff that you will have no use for. I mean, I do see that happen sometimes, but more typically, people feel they're venturing into the unknown, and it's sort of comforting to feel like, okay, I'm about to be a parent, my entire life is about to change, the least I can do is just be equipped with all the things that I need. You know, I've been told I must have a diaper genie, or, you know, a spinning, entertainment device, whatever. I mean, there's so many things out there, and the truth is, many of them you will use for a blip in time, like that saucer thing. It's like this circle that's got toys all around the edges, and there's like a seat in the middle that you plop your baby into. It's when they're a little bit older and they can hold themselves upright a bit, but it's like, it's useless for, I don't know, I mean, maybe you could get like 3 months use out of it, and it's enormous. It takes up so much space. So save that for the suburbs, you know, like little things like that. I mean, it's hard to gauge, you know, what, like I said, you just have to think about your priorities and what you need, and that you needn't be equipped with every single accessory before you give birth. That's all. Okay, so that's enough on that topic. And someone else wrote, I find myself worrying all the time about my baby's health. How can I get over that? This is someone who's pregnant. I can't remember if I said that already, but you know, that's one of the things about pregnancy that's sort of your foray into parenthood, is the worry, because suddenly you're responsible for this baby, and while that baby is inside of you, you have a greater sense of responsibility in that you have more control, in a sense. There's so much out of your control, like if this baby is going to have some kind of a birth defect, or even the gender. I mean, there are a million things that are obviously out of your control. There's like a small amount of things you can control, like in terms of nutrition, or I mean, you might not be able to get your toddler to eat spinach, but you can eat spinach so your baby can get the benefit of that. Okay, so that's one thing. There's a little bit of that going on, like, just how much you can be in control of. But the bigger lesson really is that it is all out of your control, and what happens to your baby, there's so much that you cannot do anything about, and that's just the beginning of it. Once your baby is born, feel free to worry about every little thing, and so many parents do. And then as that baby grows, there are a million more things to worry about. And then as that baby grows into a child and you have to let go and spend time away from them, there's still more things to worry about. So it's one of those things that you kind of have to accept about parenthood, that there's so much that you can do anything about, and that you have to find the balance between what your level of concern can be to what you're going to have to give up, in the sense of, this is out of my hands. If my child falls, yes, I could prevent them from falling by watching them every single second, but eventually it's going to happen. And you just have to stay in, like I said, it's just the balance of letting them free to a certain extent, and also knowing when to hold back, and knowing when to be cautious and protective, because that is your instinct as a parent, of course, is to protect. And and sometimes that gets out of control, hence overprotective mother, that kind of thing. It's very, very easy to lapse into that. I guess the flip side of it would be like, I don't know, a crack mom who doesn't care what their kid is doing. And I don't know, why is it those are the kids that never end up getting hurt? I see all sorts of messed up things in Jersey City. I once saw a toddler playing on the sub-roof of her building. It was like, she had climbed out the window, and then there was this sort of lower roof that went over the garage. If she fell off of that, it would have been like a 12 or 14 foot drop. That's enough to kill a kid. They fall the wrong way and they crack their skull. That's it. You've got brain hemorrhaging, blood clots, forget it, And I was like, oh my God, wait, somebody go do something about this, I'm watching the kid running around, and then I see that the parent is right there, letting her do it. So, whatever. I mean, no, and she did not fall off, but very weird, just stuff like that goes on, and you say to yourself, I'm going to be a responsible parent. Accidents do happen, even in the best of circumstances. So you, like I said, you have to find your balance. And speaking of balance, that's another thing that happens when you are, let me just check my time.